I have to say something to our viewers because I was seeing some dismay in the chat, shall we say. And I'm always going to keep it real, even if it risks, people not watching. I don't, there's no price for integrity. I think that a lot of times when people are angry, upset, insecure, whatever, they latch on to black or white thinking. In the progressive space, it's been called, to me, this person's a sellout. This person's a sellout. I mean, this has been going on since 2016. Remember, when Bernie endorsed Hillary Clinton, people were jumping off the bandwagon. He's a sellout. He's a this. And then they came racing back to the bandwagon when he ran again. So I think it's really easy, oftentimes, for people, just because they're worked up and understandably upset and angry, that they start assigning blame at the wrong places, or they think very narrow-mindedly. It's not to say that Bernie doesn't deserve criticism. I mean, I've been criticizing him since the campaign, and honestly, I lost subscribers when I was criticizing him during the campaign. I was criticizing him for every debate performance, saying, "Take off the gloves, Bernie. Enough of this, my friend Joe bullshit." I was criticizing him, for not going after him on his civil rights record. I've been criticizing him now. Why aren't you organizing the army? Why aren't you organizing your massive email list for a rent strike? For to actually meet the moment, meet the crisis, not just tweet out things and do live streams, but you have a massive email list. One of the things that Bernie criticized President Obama for, rightly so, was Obama, when he became president, left his massive army and his massive email list of a lot of young people, just left them at the altar. Didn't use them anymore because, Citigroup was choosing Obama's cabinet. So there's plenty of things to criticize Bernie about. There's nothing wrong with criticizing Bernie. And I've triggered people and lost subscribers for criticizing Bernie. And it seems now people are upset because I won't do what others are doing. And by the way, it's not just Jimmy. There's other people talking like this. So it's not like I've seen some comments like, stop criticizing or bad-mouthing Jimmy. I'm not bad-mouthing Jimmy. I just brought him up because he's the one with the biggest platform talking like this. But there's plenty of other people. Bernie's a sellout. Bernie's a fraud. A coward. This and that. I just disagree with that kind of thinking. And to me, it kind of is like a very middle school, high school way of thinking. I think it's ridiculous. Let me explain why. Again, you could criticize Bernie for plenty of things to criticize him about. But contrary to what somebody said in the chat, there was no active, organized, progressive movement nationally before Bernie Sanders ran in 2015-16. I think Jimmy and others might be forgetting that. Yeah, Occupy came before. It was good while it lasted. There was flaws in Occupy. But when Occupy was done, it was done. There was no coordinated, massive, organized progressive movement before 2015. Most progressives were asleep during the Obama administration. Sure, there were pockets, Black Lives Matter, Fight for 15, Occupy, this and that, but different groups are not the same thing as a national movement. Okay? So Bernie Sanders brought many millions of people into the progressive movement that were younger, that were cynical or just disinterested before. Bernie Sanders, although it hasn't manifested into power yet, I had a conversation with somebody this morning that was attached to his campaign saying he was the right person to activate people and bring people into the progressive movement. He wasn't the person to actually seize power for the progressive movement. But that doesn't mean somebody's a sellout. That doesn't make somebody a fraud. That doesn't make somebody a coward. It's easy for somebody on YouTube or Twitter to call someone a sellout or a coward. You try being the target of massive, hundreds of millions of dollars of media criticism for 5 years. hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions, in corporations attacking you, think tanks attacking you, Wall Street attacking you, the fossil attacking you, Big Pharma attacking you. Are you so brave that you're willing to do that? I'm talking about you, the people criticizing him. So I criticize Bernie when I think he should be criticized. But there's a difference between criticizing people on specific issues or failures and oh, he's a coward, he's a this, he's a that. Well, a lot of people saying that wouldn't have the audience they have right now without Bernie Sanders and his movement. I mean, that's just the truth. Nomiki mentioned clicks. A lot of these people have gotten a lot of clicks and a lot of subscribers based off of Bernie's movement, including me, by the way. So if tomorrow I find out Bernie has been money laundering and Bernie had a secret super PAC and Bernie has done things like that that's completely against everything we know about him, I'll be the first one to call him a sellout. But just because somebody's not going as aggressively as you, fill in the blank YouTube host wants to go, or fill in the blank tweeter wants to go, just because somebody's not fire breathing like you doesn't make somebody a sellout or a coward. And frankly, I think it's kind of ridiculous and foolish for people in the comfy confines of their garage or wherever their studio is to be saying that about other people that have done more in 5 years than they'll ever do in their whole life. I think Bernie was weak during the campaign. I think he let old style Senate norms, calling my friend a senator from this place, and he let, because Biden and was nice to him when he was a senator, cloud the fact that Joe Biden has hurt millions and millions of Americans. Joe Biden has put black people in jail that shouldn't be in jail. Joe Biden, not just Joe Biden, Bush and Cheney did this, Joe Biden cheerleaded and helped push forward a war based on lies. Frankly, I think the progressive movement needs not just one leader, because I think we learned from Bernie it's not just one leader, and we're not going to get what we want just through electoral politics. But I think we need somebody like Nina Turner. Because Nina Turner, on the same bandwagon as Bernie, but she's willing to take off the gloves. She ain't interested in making friends. I'm not like, I'm a journalist. Obviously, I admire Nina, but I'll criticize her when necessary too. But the point is, I think this narrow-minded, short-sighted, just reflexively anger, somebody's a sellout, somebody's a coward, this and that. You know who's a fucking sellout? Nancy Pelosi's a sellout. That's pretty clear. There's no gray area. You know who's a sellout? Mitch McConnell. Trump is a sellout. There's people that are very clearly sellouts. Bernie Sanders is the reason that right now, when it's safe, I think it's very likely you're going to see protests, not just of progressives, but of neoliberals, of conservatives. I think you're going to see protests in the streets for Medicare for all, and major protests. I'm talking thousands and thousands of people for Medicare for all, because people are desperate. And 40 million people are without health care now, on top of the 30 million people that were already without health care before that. You think it's because of you that's going to happen? You think that Medicare for all protests, those protests are going to happen because of Jimmy or everybody else? And again, I'm not bashing Jimmy. I texted him today. We're friends. I like Jimmy. I agree with him on a lot of the merits. I just don't agree with the sellouts and the cowards and all that stuff. Realize who the enemy is. It ain't Bernie. And Bernie is the reason you're going to be seeing. He is the key major reason you will see people on the streets for Medicare for all. He is the key major reason, if there is a general strike in this country, if it ever gets there, the first bricks on that road were paved first by Occupy Wall Street and then much, much more bricks by Bernie Sanders. So it's easy when we're angry and fed up and, we see we're getting a lot of clicks and I'm not saying that's why Jimmy or others are saying that, but it's easy to prey on people's anger. Fox News preys on it intentionally. I'm not saying other people in the progressive are doing it intentionally, but it's easy to just be angry and just rant and just say this person's a sellout because he ain't feeling and saying what I'm saying. It's a lot harder to actually tell the audience that there's some nuance involved. And here's where I think Bernie is wrong. Right now, first of all, he shouldn't have dropped out when he dropped out. I said it then. He should have never done these hostage-taking live streams with Biden. It looks like he's being held hostage. It ain't bad advice. Bernie was told. Nina Turner screamed at him, take off the gloves. David Sorda screamed at him, take off the gloves. A lot of his top campaign officials screamed at him, take off the gloves. Bernie is 78 years old. It's up to Bernie. And he chose to be diplomatic and, not go scorched earth. Let me tell you something. If Bernie Sanders runs ads in South Carolina that Joe Biden invented being arrested in South Africa on his way to meet Mandela, if Bernie Sanders ran ads that Joe Biden has lied for 30 years at black churches, by the way, in front of black people about marching and civil rights protests, Bernie Sanders ain't losing South Carolina by 30 points. Because if I know one thing, I'm not trying to white-splain, older black people, well, black people, period, but older black people particularly, they don't like white people exploiting civil rights. Majority of them, from Jen's interviews and me speaking with African-American voters, had no idea any of this because the media didn't report it and Bernie didn't run ads. So my point is, yeah, Bernie made mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But it's easy to be a YouTube host or a tweeter. Well, he's not fire-breathing. He's not holding the Democratic Party hostage right now. Well, at the end of the day, let me ask you something. If you are one senator and the only thing you could do is filibuster and delay the bill, are you going to filibuster for days, for a week, and stop the first bill that went out, even though it was horrible, that bill? Are you going to choose to fight the war then and delay unemployment, $1,200 check? I'm not saying it was enough. I've been shitting on that bill. But it is what it is. Are you going to be the person, because he wanted Bernie to filibuster? You going to do that? Because it's easy to say you would do that as a YouTube host. It's easy to do that as a tweeter. You're going to be the one that delays unemployment for millions of people? $1,200 check for millions of people? I think he should have voted no against the bill. I don't know why he voted for it. Where Bernie is failing right now is you have an army of people looking for a leader right now. Yeah, you're not going to win the presidency, but you're still a leader. In 6 months, he shamed the richest man in the world to raise Amazon's minimum wage to $15 an hour. That was Bernie Sanders and his digital media operation. They just shamed him. They pounded Bezos day after day. The media started picking it up, and he shamed him. If you could do that in 6 months, what can you do right now with a global depression about to happen, with millions of people behind you? So I think he's failing. I don't know why he's not fighting. I don't know why he refuses to call out Pelosi and Schumer on these bullshit bills they're putting out that don't go nearly far enough. I can't answer that. I don't know why he's doing that. But that doesn't make somebody a coward. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.